one day I was jogging and somebody had stopped me, and they're like, "Hey, we heard what happened to your house because we are staying with him already." They gave me a check, and I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, I didn't know what to say, so I was like, I just put it in my pocket. The next day, like, I was trying to wash clothes, and then I took it out. It was a $3,500 check.
Oh my
So,
God.
Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
All right. Thank you so much, Abe, for joining us on Breaking Barriers. We're really excited to have you. For everyone listening, Abe is the CEO of Abe's Fitty Foods, Fitty Fuel Supplements, and is the co-owner of A&B Astrology. Abe, thank you so much. For also everyone listening, a funny story. Abe actually met two of our team members in Italy, which is what brought you here on this podcast today. And I think you were at a pasta making class at the time, right?
yeah, we're at a pasta making classes, simply because, just trying to learn some different techniques, something new. And it's like, we decided to join it. And, last minute, thank God we did, because we met everybody that was there that, we added on Instagram, and, they're, becoming good friends right now. So I'm very blessed to have been on that trip and that day and being on the show.
Absolutely. I think the universe works in miraculous ways. And it wasn't a coincidence that our team and you met on that trip, which resulted in today's connection. So
Right.
yeah. And now we get to share your story with everybody listening and inspire others, whether they're on the side of needing to make a change to have a healthy eating lifestyle, or if they're looking to follow in your footsteps to help others live that healthy lifestyle. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your journey and how you got into Fitty Foods?
All right. Fitty Foods, we started way back. Like, it was just an idea, like, in 2013. Actually, my mom kind of helped me create it, because she was going through a hard time through, like, dialysis. Her health the last couple years had went from, like, perfect to, like, downhill. So it got to the point where she needed like, special, like, DaVita dialysis type meals where it's like no sugar, no salt. And they gave me, actually, they printed out like a whole recipe thing for me. And they printed it up for her, but she gave it to me. She's like, "Hey, I need you to cook this for me." And I was just like, "What?" Like, I don't know about that, Mom. Like, we used to cook in, like, fajitas, like, caldo de pollo and all that. And she's like, "Well, let's try it. I'll be by your side." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So, just we started learning. I started learning, like, how to cook certain things, like, for her. She started to get a little bit better throughout the whole thing. So, you know, and then I was in college at the time, and I was actually going for business. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like, hopefully, I just wanted to be my own boss, entrepreneur, but I didn't know what. So, my mom's like, "Why don't you just start selling plates? I think, you have something here." And I was like, "I don't know, Mom. Like, we'll see." Like, and then she pushed me eventually to do it. It started off, decent, but then it's just like, it hit, like, like every entrepreneur, like, comes that time where it's like, what do you do after you can't sell anymore? Like, do you keep doing it or do you quit? So I actually quit. So, and then try to get better at it, and then came back and started selling more meals. So it's, for my mom, if it wasn't for my mom, she passed away back in 2017. And if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be on this journey, and, pushed us to be better.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear about your mom, but it's nice to hear that she inspired something that, catapulted into a career for you and into an entire lifestyle for so many people. Now, you mentioned something that's really interesting, because on this podcast, we talk about the challenges that entrepreneurs go through. I think with social media, everybody sees that, entrepreneurship is this luxury lifestyle, but it doesn't always work out the first time around. And to take a step back and figure out, what do I have to do to pivot to be able to jump back into this successfully is really important. It's a good reflection for you when you made that pause to kind of adjust and figure out what you needed to do. What was that like for you? What did you change in that interim?
Oh man, it was very hard, because definitely, it was during slow season, because, healthy meal preps, really nobody wants to eat it in November, December. So it was around that time, and I was just like, I had to get a job. And just thinking to myself, like, man, I can't be doing this. Like, I need to like keep the vision with my mom, and but also we also had bills to pay, so it was just like, okay, let's just work, somewhere, like graveyard shift or something. So I had to, take a look back and figure out, how to get better at what I do, and just keep like not giving up. So, probably about the fourth month, I was like, okay, I'm back to selling meal preps, and a couple of people ordered here and there, but I was still working. So I was like, okay, like I need to correct this, I need to do this, trying to like create my own recipes with everything. And it was just like a journey to get there. It's still a journey. Like a lot of people, like you said, on social media, especially Instagram, like everybody's like entrepreneurs make so much, or it's like the success is so, like you will have it then and there, and it's not. Like we recently just got a food truck, so for doing this for almost like 7 years, like I tell people, like it's taken us like almost 4,000 days. Like I made a post, I was like, 4,100 days to get here to get a food truck, but you know I'm very vocal sometimes about what we've gone through, because we lost our mom. So with that came a lot of emotions, and depression, and then a little bit like not being worthy of doing what you're doing. And then a year after she passed away, we lost our house.
Oh no.
So it was like another obstacle we had to deal with, and we lost it around Thanksgiving week, like because her and my dad had separated, probably 2 years before she passed. So that's why like I stepped in and she helped me out, to cook and all that. Like it became a real strong bond with my mom. And then we found out our dad sold the house without us knowing, and we were
Oh my
pretty much evicted. So we got evicted. They're like, hey, your house has been sold. You got such and such to leave. And it was like Thanksgiving week, and we're like, man, like what else? So a lot of people don't see that. Like they think like, oh, now you have a food truck, like wow, must be nice. And I'm just like, like oh man. And same thing, like we're on a trip, like when we went to Italy, and I posted a picture, like they're like, oh, it must be nice going to Italy. And I'm like, man, if y'all knew how much we struggle to get to this point in my life or our lives to where we're able to enjoy a little bit and actually pursue to that next level. Like it's just like I tell every entrepreneur, like don't give up, just keep going. Like the sun's gonna eventually shine. It may shine every now and then, but there's gonna come a point where it's like, oh man, you get that full ray of sunshine and you just keep going.
What was that full ray of sunshine for you? I think that losing a parent and then losing your home are two things that make you feel safe as a person. It's a mother and a home. So when you were facing that adversity, what did you do to motivate yourself to keep pushing through?
That was definitely, if it wasn't for one of my childhood friends down the street, because his name's Paul Cusco. Appreciate you, man. He actually said, he was like, hey, y'all have nowhere to go. Stay with me. Like, don't worry about it. Because we've had, I'm not gonna say we didn't really have anybody, but there was a couple of people that reached out, but it was kind of fishy because, like, it was a weird, like, because I was working out at the time, losing weight, like, or after, like around the time after my mom passed away. So I lost a good amount of weight. So my thing was at that point was jogging. So one day I was jogging and somebody had stopped me, and they're like, hey, we heard what happened to your house, because we were staying with him already. And, they gave me a check, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, thank you. Like, I didn't know what to say. So I was like, I just put it in my pocket because, I don't like being rude or something. So I just put it in my pocket, didn't care, and then just went to Paul's house, got my clothes, took a shower, then what's it called? The next day, like I was trying to wash clothes, and then I took it out. It was a $3,500 check.
Oh my
So,
God.
so yeah, it was just kind of like, oh my God, like what do we do? And I told my brothers, because my brothers were with me, they stayed with me, and I was like, what do we do? Like, how, like, we could finally, like, get a house, that type of thing. And Paul, like, my friend Paul was like, man, let's go. And then, I had posted that, and then a couple of people were like, hey, you can stay with me, but at least pay 2 months rent. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I'm not, like, it's kind of weird, because I was just like, I'm not looking for that. I'm like, I'm trying to build ourselves up at that time. Like, I was like, man, I have cooking that's, somewhat I could do, like, hey, then people are like trying to support me, like, hey, I'll buy a meal. So, just doing that at my friend Paul's house, like, okay, cool. He let me cook, let me borrow his kitchen utensils, and I kept going. And then when that happened, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go all in. Like, I can't give up. Like, people are supporting this, and I was blessed. We're blessed with that person stopping by and giving us a check. Like, I was just so shocked. Like, I didn't believe it. Like, I was like, I won the lottery. I was like, bro, like, if I could get a house, like, we didn't know what to do, like, where to stay or what's going on. Cause we've never dealt with anything like that. Cause we lived at that house for like at least 15 years. And, just having that kind of situation, it's kind of like, what do you do now? Like, you're in college, you're working part time type of thing. And it's like, my brothers were in high school, and it's like,
Oh,
shit, nobody has money type of thing. And it's like, what do we do?
right.
So yeah, just doing that and just motivated like to me to keep going and cooking. And then it just sparked like the fire inside me to keep going. Like, hey, I got something here, I'm not gonna quit. Obviously people see something in us, that type to where, like, hey, they got something going on, like, let's keep ordering from them. Even like if it's December, like, I was like, oh my God, like, okay, let's go. And we were able to, like, lease a house and just, use that as like our main thing, and then just, keep gradually climbing up the ladder.
That's amazing. I think something that I connected to in that is your brothers, and I think about my siblings, and that when there's family involved, I feel like you go to there's I would do anything to make sure that they were okay, and I think that's such a great area of motivation and inspiration to pull from. It's just that desire to make sure they're okay.
Exactly. That's the same here. Like, we even like we talk like, as soon as we lost the house, it's like, what do we do? Like, do we stay together or do we go our separate ways? Because it was kind of hard, because everybody has, like, we're brothers, like, we love each other, we hate each other, that type of thing. Like, hey, and I was like, what do we do? Do we keep going, or do we just kind of like, do you want to do your own thing? And it's fine if you do, like, I'm not gonna try to hold you back, type of thing. Like, this is challenging, because everybody has their different perspectives. Like, I want to be my own person, let me,
Right.
this happened for a reason, but they're like, nah, let's stick together, let's make this work, like, let's keep pushing forward. So it's like, okay, let's keep going. So, like, as we came together, and then, like, we've been still together, just pushing and climbing and, fighting through everything.
That's very inspiring. Now, let's go back to when you first had this idea to build this business. And then once you and your mom had and your mom, I think you had mentioned, inspired you to like sell the meals, like just sell the meals. How did you go about from that concept? How did you bring that to life to where people were now purchasing these
I,
meals?
I had posted it like on Facebook, and I was like, hey, selling prep meals for healthier people, like my mom, just, like, hey, me and my mom, my mom's going through dialysis and it's helping her. And then, just gave a background of what the, prep meals that we were doing were for, like, help you to lose weight, or, to live better. That way, if you have a health problem, it can help you, be a little bit healthier than what you are. And so I just posted that, and people were like, oh, cool, cool. Like, people are just like, I'll buy one, I'll message them. And they were just like, oh, man, not right now. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I was just like, oh, man, like, okay, just getting turned down was kind of like a little like intimidating, because I was just like, man. And then, a couple of friends were, you know what, I'm going to buy some for my mom, I'm going to buy some for my parents or something, like, I guess they're just like trying to support. So, just people are just supporting, just, here and there. And so I was like, that gave me the confidence, which, like, I try to tell people, like, hey, support doesn't always mean it's friends. It comes from everybody, because there was actually some strangers that actually same thing ordered from me, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like, and they became friends. So,
Huh.
so it, it pushes you to be better, to where it's like, oh, like, gives you that confidence where it's like, okay, I got this. Like, like, and then it's just like, let's keep going, let's keep going. So, if it wasn't for like Facebook and all that, like certain friends pushing me and like, hey, trying to push it out there, I probably wouldn't even be cooking today.
So that's been quite the journey that you've had, from cooking to help your mom to then just having a few friends and supporters buying your meals to now having a food truck, which is incredible. What has been the biggest challenge in scaling to this point?
Oh man, it's just life. like I tell people, it's life. I mean, it's definitely everything. I mean, I'm still learning and growing, especially from an entrepreneur side. So, the biggest challenge, like I said, is just we've dealt with two back-to-back challenges, and then from having shitty landlords to, I mean, everything, like just having our car break down to where, like, I mean, we needed new motors, and it was just like we were down and out. Like it was just one thing after another, because when it rains it pours, and it was like, like I said, it's just when we got the house after we lost our house, like I think it was like beginning of 2017, is when we leased the house, like in January. So that was like a little bit of ray of sunshine. Like I said, it was just like, okay, we got a place, we started cooking, and then it was just kind of like we were selling a couple meals here and there. Then it's just kind of like, okay, kind of like the clouds came out a little bit slow in February, but in March and April it picked back up, and like we're able to kind of pay rent and everything. Like we got a new car, then because we used to drive a '88 Honda CRX, we used to deliver it. It was just us three in a two-door car. So, like in late March of 2017, we're able to afford a 2016 Honda CRV. So we're like, okay, that's the vehicle we're gonna use. That's the main thing. So like I said, everything just started going up, and then like when slow season stuff comes down, like when it rains over here, it's like slows down a little bit. So it's like you just got to keep that mentality. Like, okay, it's maybe a slow week, but it doesn't last forever.
Definitely. Now, before we started this episode, you and I were talking a little bit about, common misconceptions people have about eating healthy. And over the years, you've been able to educate yourself on, what is healthy and what isn't healthy. And you were talking a little bit about, these fad diets, because they do work for some people. But they don't work for all. There's not a one size fits all, right? You really have to pay attention to what your body needs and what it reacts to. So what advice would you give to those people who are looking to live a healthier lifestyle and are looking to food for that remedy?
I would look for a nutritionist, a nutritionist at least to help guide you, because like I said, there's so many misconceptions on the internet. Like you'll Google it, you're like, okay, well this one's for me, and then it's like, oh, let me take out rice, bread, and everything that's healthy. Like no, like it's actually good for you type of situation. So it's like talk to a nutritionist, figure out a game plan with it to live healthier. I personally love doing macros, like where like, oh, I need 2,500 calories a day. I like lifting heavy. I like doing this, like just to maintain this 3,000 calories. Like, and people are like, man, that's a lot. Like, you're able to kind of counting macros / flexible dieting is what I tell people. Like, that's kind of what we're starting to base our company off of, where it's like it's healthy, then there's healthier options. Like healthier chicken Alfredo, or healthier beef and broccoli, something that's under 500 calories, where you're able to, eat throughout the day, like, because anything under like 1,400 calories for the whole day, like if somebody tells you that, like that's no good. So that's what I'm saying. Like, talk to a nutritionist, figure out like your game plan. Don't just shop around type of thing before actually heading to like an actual doctor, I guess you could say. But I mean, it just depends. Like, there's so many nutritionists nowadays. It's like there's actually people that care for you and actually want to help you out and tell you like, hey, you should probably go this route and this way, instead of just telling you, hey, you need to eat, same thing every day, which I mean, I don't recommend that either. Like, it's not, unless you're kind of like in a bodybuilding prep, like I understand, but for a normal person like me, like, nah, I'm not gonna eat chicken and rice every day with green beans. And for what? Like, there's, I can eat healthier options, what I'm doing with, my goals in mind.
Definitely, because you also want to enjoy your food, right? I always
Exactly.
think life is too short to not enjoy your food. So I mean, I always make sure that I'm picking a yummy recipe at least, and trying to find those healthy substitutes for things. But it could be difficult sometimes. It can definitely be challenging, especially as an entrepreneur. This kind of running around all the time. It's hard to find time to make those healthy meals too, which is where your company kind of
comes in and helps everybody. Same thing. Like when it, I mean, like Yeah, it's been a very long journey, especially trying to create like just different recipes, make them my own, or just kind of like figure out what to do. And then same thing, like we put so much effort to make sure we have our customers like on the right track. Like there's we started off with like making probably about like 10, 15 meals a week. And right now it's kind of like beginning of December, so like we're not making as many, but the whole year we've been consistent making almost 700 meals a week.
Wow.
So we've been that consistent like through end of January. Like it's just been that this year has been that consistent year. Like I tell people, like it's been a super consistent year. Like it kind of gave us the motivation to keep going. That's where we got the food truck. Like let's keep pushing forward because like there was times like when we got that when we leave in 2017 when we got the new house, we were barely making 120 meals, which I thought it was a lot. And it was just like, oh man, and now we're like way past that. So now like the expectation with the food truck is way above and beyond. It's kind of like I don't want to shoot too little or too long, but
Right.
we have a goal in mind since we've been consistent this year, and it's kind of like, okay, let's keep going. Like, okay, we could do this. It's just, in the end, it's all about how you make the food for people, and what you care for people. Because I still answer my DMs for customers, and it's not just the online thing where it's just like, oh, let me. It is. It isn't like. I mean, we're not that type of company. Where it's just kind of like we actually try to reach out to our customers. We actually try to make sure they're having progress, or just kind of like same thing. Like if they need anything, like there's a lot of customers that become really good friends, and they have recommended a lot of their friends to us. So, like I said, it's just we're not like we actually care to make sure you're on the right track, or if you need anything as far as like because we do cater to some diets, so if they need anything, we'll just fix it right up, and then just make sure they're consistent with it.
That's amazing. I wonder too, like just with I think about grocery shopping over the past year, and my husband and I, over the past few months, we actually kind of took a look and we're like, okay, we don't really have time to cook. We're spending all of this money at the grocery store and half of it's going to waste. So resorting to a company like yours where we're able to get these healthy meals and they work for our lifestyle and nothing goes to waste. I feel like more and more people are on that track with how grocery prices are escalating. So I wonder if your numbers are going to go up throughout the new year too.
I would hope so. I mean, I'm praying right now because, like I said, it's just like a food truck is another bill type of thing, and it's just like it's a blessing, but it's also another bill. But as an entrepreneur, you got to find other sources to keep pushing and figure out as far as like social media. Like our job is never done, especially because there's people that'll call me like, oh, hey chef, hey something. I was just like, I don't like that. Like I'm an entrepreneur. Like leave the chef to somebody else. Like I just love doing what I'm doing. Like I'm a cook, a line cook. But just as an entrepreneur, always got to push out the box. Like during COVID, like peak COVID, we met some people that ordered some food, and they owned a supplement warehouse where they make their own pre-workout. So, the guy reached out and he was like, hey, my wife really likes your food. And, I've seen your Instagram, I do this if you're interested. And I was like, what? Make my own pre-workout? No way. Like never thought in a million years I could do it. But, there's a chance, there's a reason why it's coming towards me. And I mean, we released 4 flavors and we sold out each one of them.
Wow. That's
So,
incredible.
right. So I'm just kind of like, now it's just kind of like, it's a new level of, as I say, I don't like being called chef, but I mean, I just like entrepreneur, like, hey, we're always going to try to find that, that next level to fill in another gap type of thing where it's like, oh, if it's slow, then we can rely on this. But if we can't, we got another thing over here. Like, my mind just keeps going and going and going. Like, it's just, I do things for, I guess, the fun of it, if it makes sense. Like, I don't know, like other entrepreneurs out there, but I just want to say I'm able to do it. And that's just me. Like, I don't do it for the money type of thing, but I mean, the money's good at the end of the day, just to pay bills. But my thoughts never like, I need to make money. So here we go. Like, hey, you know what? Like, screw it, let's do this pre-workout, like, and just certain things, like projects. Like right now, we have a project. We're actually writing a children's book. So same thing. Never thought in a million years, hey, we're gonna write a children's book. But same thing. Met a right person. They're illustrating it. Called the Fitty Bears, and we're gonna talk about like depression. How to overcome it. First time at the gym. Like we got a whole series in the works, but it takes time. And I just want to do it because I'm just like children's book. It's we live in a time where kids could actually read it and benefit from it. Like, hey, don't be scared of the gym. Don't ever be scared of this. Or like depression comes. How to deal with death type of thing. Like, and just like you said, I'm not looking to make money off of it, but it's just one of the things. Like, I just want to say I'm able to do it.
Definitely, and share that wisdom with others. I mean, that's something that, again, it's not really, I feel like it's more widely talked about now, but years ago, in our childhoods, there wasn't really any talk around depression or like how to regulate those emotions as a kid either. So to have a children's book on that is so empowering, and it's going to do so much for the youth. So what's the next step for Fitty Foods? Aside from food truck, what's after that? Are you getting another food truck? Are you expanding locations?
Actually, the original plan was to open up like kind of like a brick and mortar.
Oh, cool.
But like I said, it was just especially with like kind of like before COVID, we were trying to open up one up, trying to like get some deals done. Had an investor that was interested, and we're kind of like, okay, then like it was probably that January, and then COVID hit, and it just kind of went downhill. Which is fine, like because it happens for a reason. And then good thing it didn't happen, because then like locking in the deal and having all that like during over here in Texas where everything just got kind of haywire, and I'm pretty sure all around the world too. So like after 2 years after that, like I said, we just got the food truck, and right now it's just to build out of the food truck, and then hopefully a brick and mortar in the future for people are able to kind of come in and help out. The same thing, like my thing is, I want to brick and mortar. I want to help out the community. I want to help out, like the high school, the middle school, because at the end of the day, that's where it's at. Especially in Latin communities, like we're raised to eat. Like, oh, we're raised to eat a lot. Like, oh, if you don't eat that, what's wrong with you? Like, there's a stigma for that. Like, especially in Latinos, like, oh, why aren't you eating those 2 pieces of tortilla and that extra meat I gave you? Like, are you on a diet? Why are you on a diet? Like, no, like. I mean, we're taught to kind of overeat growing up. And I kind of want to help out the community, because I mean, obviously the future are the children and our kids. I don't have any kids, but I like to say kids. But just to help out the community, because there was growing up, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have anything like that. Even right now, like going through all this, I didn't have any like, I guess, guidance. And then just right now, same thing. People are emailing me asking for guidance and like how to start their own business. And hey, I'm actually writing back, and I'm like, hey, I would do this, do that. Like, I didn't have that when I started out. Like, nobody was helping. It wasn't like widely available type of thing. So that's like the plan, just to kind of help the future out, whether it's kids, entrepreneurs. I want to make a difference in people's lives that, we already are, but, just in different aspects, from like helping the community, high schools, middle schools, to, just helping entrepreneurs grow, whether they start their own business, or they try to like push something out that they want. So that's like the plan in the future, just pretty much help everybody out as much as I can.
Well, it sounds like a great plan, and it sounds like you're already on track to do that, which is great. Now, before we wrap up, we like to leave our listeners with a little bit of inspiration. So is there a quote that you live by or reference for any type of motivation?
Oh man, the only thing is in Spanish is don't give up. Like what my mom used to tell me, like in Spanish, no te rindes. And like it sounds cliche, but like I tell people, like without that, like because sometimes it'll replay in my mind, like what my mom would tell me. So that's what I tell people: just don't give up. As cliche as it sounds, like that quote, "Don't give up." Like something's eventually gonna give, and then it'll happen. Like as people want overnight success, but they don't realize it takes 4,000 days for overnight success. Even like I said, I personally, as much as we've been through, I guess I have that, that complex where I still don't believe I'm successful yet, but that we're getting there. But I gotta tell people, don't give up, because then you give up, you just didn't want it that bad. So yeah, but that I would just say that, just don't give up, no te rindes.
Very nice. Well, Abe, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a true pleasure. And for anyone who wants to learn more about Abe and his story, you can go ahead and follow him at Abe's Fitty Foods, or check out his website at fittyfoods.com, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, perfect.